Hi, I'm Mike.
I'm Angela.
And this is Nfgeeks. Well, Angela, I want to talk to you about a topic that recently has come to my attention. And it's something that I never even heard of before or even thought about. It's a Myers-Briggs thing. But I've been pondering it for about 2 days straight now. And I want to talk about it. And we're probably going to have more videos about this in time. I can see me covering this topic with other people, even you again. Mm-hmm. And so I was exposed to the concept in Myers-Briggs called typism.
Oh,
and
okay.
This is something, I guess this is something that's going on the message boards. I don't know, I don't read the message boards, I'm old. But it's on the message boards, I think. And so let me describe it. Typism is basically a form of prejudice. And it's when there's a privileging, not to get postmodern, but that's what it would be called, a privileging of one type or even temperament over another type, and that this privileging is based on stereotypes, prejudiceness, and then ultimately leading to discrimination of some kind. So it's basically like racism
or sexism,
right?
Okay.
Except it's happening within the with
Myers-Briggs.
So okay. It's basically saying that like it's assuming certain stereotypes about the types,
okay.
and then making judgments or being prejudiced against them and things like that. Now, the reason why this is important is because Nfgeeks was accused of being typism, and so that's why I think it's worthy of talking about. You know, so I guess we're like the Klan.
Apparently,
yeah,
so.
Yes. Although, if I had to pick the uniforms, I'm going to pick like Nazi uniforms because they have like armbands and boots.
And we're important,
right? You know. And there's belts and those nice German guns. The Klan stuff is pretty boring. It's like Noah picked it. An ISTJ. We need a uniform sheets. So
this is efficient.
Yeah. So
and it's cheap.
Right. So we're Nfs. All right. But in all seriousness, I'm being cheeky as I usually am. Well, so that is a serious accusation, and this idea is an interesting concept. So I want to toss it around about either us, Nfgeeks, or just us personally, or what does this mean? And is this right or is this wrong? Is this good or is this bad? I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the whole idea. There's something good about it because you're trying to, anytime fighting prejudice is good. But I don't know if this actually applies the way racism does, and I certainly don't know if it applies to Nfgeeks or not. So, so first, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, I don't know. See, my idea about Myers-Briggs in general, the study, the personality theory about it, is basically the study is a little bit stereotypical. Where the idea behind personality theory is you have a personality based on a set of characteristics that has been predisposed upon you as a person, and that's what creates your personality. It goes around.
Sure.
So, in a way, that typism is a little bit what Myers-Briggs is based on. Because without the stereotypical, we wouldn't be able to see what somebody, who somebody is personality-wise. Like, you can see a person, and I've seen you do this many a times. Hand to God, I've seen him do it 100 times, where he can look at somebody, talk to them, or even sometimes without talking to them, hit it nail on the head. Who they are, what kind of type they are.
I know.
On the dot. And I've seen you do it so many times. And it's not to be... And to me, it actually makes me a little upset that somebody would compare it to racism or sexism because I don't feel that way. I feel like this is a good thing. This is an important thing to know who you are as a person. And just me, in general, like even just talking about me personally, knowing that I was an ENFP and reading up on ENFPs, it fit me and it helped me to understand myself and to empower myself that way.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way.
Sure, and that's so there's a couple of points. One is that I'm going to talk about Nfgeeks in general than myself.
Yeah.
Nfgeeks is meant to, and I say this all the time, so this isn't anything new, but it's meant to empower NFs. It's not meant to privilege NFs over other types. Although that's not what this person was saying. I'm just sort of saying it in relation to this idea. Yeah. But it's not meant to be, it's not privileging. It's not saying that NFs are better than the other types. It's really just trying to inspire NFs to come into their power, and to enjoy being an NF and celebrate NFness and not feel that it's a curse. Because, sometimes people think it's a curse, and I want people to not think it's a curse, that it's good and it's powerful and and it's something good. But I don't want it to be seen as privileging. I actually model it after, you know, kind of like, to be honest, in my mind, I kind of think of it in terms of like the civil rights movement or the women's movement. So, yeah, the women's movement. So that's all I'm saying. So, you know, about Nfgeeks, but you know what the criticism was is that when we or anybody I have sitting here are talking about the types, it's the equivalent of saying, and I think they were clear on this point. It's the equivalent of us saying that, like, you know, African Americans like watermelon, Jews are cheap, you know, Asians are bad drivers, you know, Irish are drunks. You know what I mean? Everyone Italian's in the mob. You know, whatever. Like she was basically saying that our interpretations are on that level, and you know, so I have some things I want to say about it. But why don't you start? What do you have to say about that?
Well,
or how that could be true?
Well, like I said before, I don't particularly agree with it on that level. I don't see the Myers-Briggs status is, you know, or like saying, you know, you're an ENFP, you're an INFJ. I don't feel like that's labeling.
All right, sure, and I don't either, in the sense that the Myers-Briggs itself is pretty neutral. None of the types are actually privileged over the other. All types are seen as important and useful to the human consciousness. Their absence would be something bad for the human condition. Same thing with the 4 temperaments. They're all sort of, you know, there's no hierarchy of temperaments. The criticism is not about the theory. The criticism is about me personally. It's specific to me. And I guess everyone else sitting here, although they didn't say that, they really just said me. But I'm going to bring you in.
Okay, that's fine. No, bring me in.
If the Nfgeeks ship goes down,
I am down with diving into the abyss with
right,
you.
everybody's
you know
coming
that.
down, right. So it was specific to me personally. So I don't laugh. All right, but I want to say some things, though, is that, you know, one is that Nfgeeks is subjective. It's not meant to be theoretical.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be nice to everybody. It's basically people having a conversation about, here's my experience of my type and other types. It's not even necessarily correct. It's really just people being subjective. So saying that, you know, I want to point out is that, you know, I do have prejudices within the Myers-Briggs. I absolutely do. And so I'm going to tell you them. Okay, and tell you them too. Aren't you happy? So for example, and people who know me know this because I've said this out loud, but I really don't care for ESTPs. I've had a bad interaction with
know
ESTPs.
My particular bad reaction with an ESTP.
Okay, right, and I don't, and so I don't know about you, but I have had nothing but bad interactions. Every interaction I've had with the ESTP is bad. It went wrong, and now what I want to say about it is that I don't believe. And tell me if you think this way too. I don't believe there's anything objectively wrong or incorrect with the ESTP in any way, because Nfgeeks denies knowledge of an objective truth. You don't want that lecture. It's long. But we deny that there is an objective truth, but it cannot be known. So so I'm certainly not claiming.
Thou shalt not know the numeral.
That's right. Thou shalt not know the numeral. No, you don't know the numeral. I know you think you do. But so it's not that ESTPs have any particular thing that's wrong with them. In fact, my observation of the ESTP is that the way they are in the world is actually completely internally consistent with SP values. They're a certain type of SP, and they're all acting in SP. And it works for them. You know what I mean? They have goals, they have orientations, they reach their goals.
Yeah.
So it's not that they're objectively wrong. But here's what I do think. I think that ENFP values and orientation and ESTP values and orientation are incongruent and incompatible. That's what I think.
I agree.
Do you feel that way too?
I agree with you.
It's not that they're wrong. It's that how they see the world, what they want, and how we see the world the way we want. These things don't.
It never fits. It never fits. It's just never gonna.
No. It's not even square peg, round hole. It's square peg, rock.
Or dodecahedron.
You know, it's two things that actually can't go together. So because of that, and I've had this, I admit that I do have a prejudice against. I'm wary of ESTPs. I don't trust ESTPs. I try not to hang out with ESTPs. Like, I admit, there's a real full-blown prejudice based on my experiences with them.
But it's based on your experiences. You're not really going on, I read this, so I'm going to stay away from ESTPs.
No, it's
from my experience,
no,
I've never had a good interaction with an ESTP. My only interaction with any ESTP was awful. It's terrible. It's the worst interaction I've ever had.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, for mine, and you might see this too, the range is from a little bit bad to really bad.
Yeah.
Like, it never ever goes into
it's
good.
It's never that medium, no. It's either really crappy down to shitty, like
right,
way down there.
You know, but I think that has to do with the fact that we're ENFPs. I don't think there's anything objectively wrong. But it does manifest itself in a prejudice for me. In addition to that, I mean, I have to admit, too, now, just because I'm having a subjective experience, if you know about David Hume and the fallacy of induction, is that just because something has repeated in the past is not evidence of a future repetition.
Of it's going to happen.
Right, yeah. It's not. Just because the sun rises every day isn't
doesn't
evidence
mean it's going to happen the same
that it's going to
day.
do it. You know what I mean? So that's the fallacy of induction. And so just because every ESTP I ever met has led to a miserable incident isn't
doesn't
evidence.
Mean, yeah.
But because it's been miserable, I admit, I'm prejudiced, I'm wary.
You're wary. But being wary is different than saying I'm never going to interact with an ESTP because every ESTP is a jerk. I'm never going to interact with them.
Well, I wouldn't say everyone's a jerk, but I would be very reluctant to interact. Also, and I don't know if you have this experience with ESTP regarding us, they feel the same way. There's no love loss. They're not watching this going, gee, I wish I was friends with Mike and Angela. You know, they don't care. They don't care at all.
They do not
They
care.
are not upset that they feel the same way about... I find that they feel the same way about ENFP. They think we're like chumps. You know what I mean?
They think we're these just crazy people that just hang out and we do our own thing and they just don't want to be around it.
No, they don't. I really don't. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if they felt exactly the way about ENFP. But that's not necessarily reason for prejudice either. I also have to say that I also privilege, and this has been really true because I've been sort of high on this type for the past couple of days, and that is I'm definitely all about INFJ these days. I really am. INFJs really helped me out when I was in the briar patch a week or two ago with Nfgeeks, and they were really very supportive and wonderful, and they weren't necessarily, that doesn't mean they weren't critical, but they were emotionally there. So I'm definitely liking... I've put INFJ up on a pedestal to a certain bit.
We have to get you an INFJ girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm working it. Yeah, I'm working it.
We have to do that. We have to find that.
Right. Send in your applications and maybe you'll get an interview. References.
Yes.
We'll need references, But, but I am sort of privileging INFJ in a way, too. Because, and again, though, it is my subjective experience that I'm having. But, now, the question is, though, is that typism? Is that what this person was saying? Is that typism? Does that count as a true prejudiced discriminative privileging like racism, sexism, classism?
Oh, I just don't feel that way. I really don't. I mean, well, it goes both ways because I feel like it's not to that extent. I don't feel like it's on that other extreme where we're right up there with racism. I really don't feel that way. I feel like it's all part of the experience where on top of, yes, we can guess based on somebody and how they act and how they speak and things like that, what kind of type they are, they're still going to eventually take the test whether they do or not. But if they took the test, it would prove it. The fact that there's proof behind it makes it a little more like that there's some kind of scientific aspect to it. Not so much, but more so than, like with racism where it's like, like you were saying before, like, Jewish people are cheap or, Portuguese have anger issues or whatever. That's just, there's just no, like, I feel like it's more the fact that we are actually studying this in people, in talking about terms, and there's no just, you're an INFJ or you're an ENFP, you're a crazy person, which, by the way, I have to tell you that really pisses me off that people tell us, ENFPs, that we're crazy and that we're just these zany, wacky people, because I feel like we get underestimated.
Right, so I hear what you're saying. You're saying that maybe there's something to this. We're being typed. We're being made prejudice against because people think that we're zany and wild, and maybe there's more to us than being, zany and wild. Maybe that's just a stereotype, and maybe you should really see who we are, And,
I feel like nobody ever gets to see me for who I really am.
Yeah.
I'm sexy and I know it.